I am going to share the scripts and templates I have used since Monday around noon to set now, I think it's 22 appointments, something like that. And you may or may not want to use all of what I've done, but at least you can take what would work for you and what you think makes sense for you and leave what doesn't or won't. And part of what inspired this session was day one of our 5 weeks to 5 listings challenge, which started on Monday at noon. And on that session, I think we set participants. We had, I don't know, 20 people on, something like that. And we set at least 24 appointments while we were live on the Zoom, at least 24. And I know for a fact, Joan, who I can't see if Joan's here yet.
She's hopping on. Yeah,
she's hopping on.
8.
So Joan, during the live session, had gotten 4 appointments. By the end of the day, was up to at least 8 appointments.
There she's hopping on.
Beautiful. Erin Kelly, who I don't know if she's on.
She's not on.
She was the first prize winner as part of our challenge. She was the first to 5 appointments. It took approximately 50 minutes for her to get to 5 appointments. So basically an appointment every 10 minutes, for those of you curious about that. And very transparently, one of the reasons why I'm doing this challenge, and I'm planning to do the same or similar challenge basically every season, summer, fall, winter, spring, is I'm doing it too. And I think while we were live, I set 4 or 5. Some folks replied later, just from the one strategy and script that I'm going to share first, which I've shared a couple of times recently, but I'm just going to reiterate, it's working like crazy, so you should probably use it. But just from that one, I've set 7 appointments since Monday at noon. We started doing the work around 12:30. Yesterday, I used one of my tried and true text scripts to get a bunch more appointments, and then I tried a new, similar script, but new phrasing of a script to get some more possible appointments yesterday as well. So I'm going to share all of that. I'm going to give you the scripts and the templates, etc. For those of you who are curious or interested, it's not too late if you want to jump in on the challenge. Yes, you missed the first of the live sessions, but it was recorded. I can get you that, and I can get you all of the other bonuses that we're offering with the challenge as well. And you can still potentially win some of the prizes. So Erin Kelly, she was our first prize winner. She was the first to 5 appointments. But actually, I take that back. Our very first prize was Jeff Zulke. I gave him an early bird award he was the first paid participant on the Zoom. He got a 6-month free subscription with my Ilist enterprise account, which is fastcashoffers.ai. So that was pretty cool. So anyway, if you are interested and you want to hop in late, you're not that late, and you can get caught up, go to 5 listings, the number 5 listings.com, or just DM me or text me or email me. I can get you. You can enroll with PayPal or Venmo or any credit card, whatever. If you want to mail me cash, I'm fine with that, whatever. And the challenge is free for folks in our EXP organization. You can, and if you're not, you should be. But if you want to explore that, just reach out and let's chat. Or if you're already part of my organization, just let me know and I can make sure that you have the link. So session 2 is tomorrow at noon. Session 2 is tomorrow at noon. It's going to be Q&A and sharing wins and questions and next best steps, etc. from the Monday session, So it is for folks outside of my EXP organization, it is $500 for the challenge. Okay. And there are multiple ways to, even with Erin winning the first, there are still 2 more prizes of getting your $500 enrollment fee back. And then we've got a bunch of other prizes, 3 1-year subscriptions to PropStream. We've got a 6-month subscription to the business account with Thanks.io. And I think we have 3 3-month subscriptions to Listings to Leads. The total prize money up for grabs is just short of $7,000 or so. And the prerequisite, there are no prerequisites. You just sign up. So go to 5listings.com or just reach out to me, Celeste, and I can get you the link. Okay. We already had some great questions. So before I get into the scripts, I'm going to address the questions. Are they buyer or seller appointments? They're a mix of both. So I'm going to share that in a minute here and what that looks like. James had an appointment last night from the challenge with a $2 million property and have a good shot at getting the listing. Let's freaking go. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, that would be a beautiful thing. Alicia, is your system in GHL? And James, thanks for chiming in on that. So I use GHL for cold outreach. For example, if you missed last week's session, last week's replay was on prospecting tired landlords with email, text, and direct mail. Unfortunately, YouTube, I uploaded it Wednesday. I edited it like I always do. I uploaded it Wednesday. And they usually are, I set them to be published Thursday mornings at 8:45. I wake up Thursday morning and it says, whatever it says. We've ripped down your video. You're breaking terms of use. And the problem is I showed too much public data. There were several times where I was showing contact information for absentee owners, et cetera. So it ripped it down. That's the bad news. The good news is, and I'm actually glad that this came up because I forgot about this. The good news is I was able to get the replay up in our school community. So if you didn't see that, you didn't get that, whatever the case may be, you can join our free school community, and I'll get the link in the chat, and I'll get it in the comments as well. So you can join the school community for free right here. And then if you go to Classroom and you go to Wednesday Mastermind Sessions and you scroll down, I was able to get, this is the video replay directly uploaded to school. Thankfully, school didn't rip it down. That was a very long answer to Alicia's question, which is I'm using GHL for cold outreach, and then I use BoldTrail for my warm database for leads that are opt-in or my own sphere of influence, past clients, etc. Terry, my Ilist enterprise is fastcashoffers.ai, but easier is just go to growwithjosh.com, growwithjosh.com / because I think if you go to fastcashoffers.ai directly, it doesn't work for some reason. I don't know why. I asked Joe about that, but we haven't gotten that resolved. So we answered that. Thanks again. Where are the contacts coming from that you're reaching out to? Okay, so that's a good jumping off point. So number one, on Monday, on the challenge, where we started, because it's completely free, is for sale by owners. Okay, for sale by owners. Now, several of the participants did not have very many for sale by owner opportunities, and we can get into that later in today's mastermind session, what my suggestion or suggestions to them were and are if you're in a similar boat. But for most people, there was plenty of for sale by owner opportunities out there, and this script it's working phenomenally. It's where we got, so of the 24 that we got live on the challenge, it was this process. So reaching out to for sale by owners, absolutely free, right? We just go on Zillow or we use FizBonanza. You can even look for them on Craigslist. They're a little harder to identify on Facebook Marketplace, but they're there for you. And except in unique circumstances, for example, in Wisconsin, Zillow is a licensed brokerage in Wisconsin. And so if you're in Wisconsin and you go and look on Zillow for sale by owners, and I learned this from Jeff on the call, it won't have their property owner details. So you can either try and go find that yourself using truepeoplesearch.com, which is free, or other resources like PropStream, etc. Or you can subscribe to something like MyPlusLeads, or you can just look at other possible data sources. Now, one big tip that came from the session, I've tweaked the script slightly because the best results, if you want the most effective way to do this, you're going to send it directly from your cell phone, okay? Now, the problem with that is Joan found out the hard way When you don't include the address of the property, it gets confusing, especially when people don't immediately respond, which most don't. You usually get pretty quick replies, but most don't immediately respond. Then you're like, wait a minute, what property was this? So a big takeaway is, and I added a second version here, is at least include the street address. I wouldn't include the full address because then it sounds like it seems fishy, right? But put the street address so then when they respond, you can easily identify, if you're not at your computer or whatever, which property they're responding about. And the script is very simple and straightforward. This is Josh with eXp Realty. If you want to find their name, the cell phone is there in most cases, but it won't have their owner name. You could go find it very quickly and easily if you want. I have not found it. Like, I haven't noticed the difference if I put their name up or if I don't, as far as responses. This is Josh with eXp Realty. I have an out-of-state private client who'd like to make an offer on blank. The street address, would I be able to come by to take a tour sometime today or tomorrow? And I would say for most people using this are getting appointments with at least 50% of the for sale by owners that they text. At least. Most, okay? I can't guarantee anything, obviously. But for most people, that's what we're seeing or what's being reported back to me. I'm going to drop this doc in the chat in a minute here. And Richard, I got your text, and time permitting, we could talk a little bit about that on here. We can certainly do a deeper dive on it tomorrow, but I'm not gonna wait till tomorrow to get you recommendations. And Richard had texted me. He had an appointment with a for sale by owner, took 76 pictures. That's a lot of pictures, right? Documenting. What do I do now? And I talked through our next best steps on Monday. I'll talk through it here again, and I'll probably even show an example of what I do next with the for sale by owner. And also something that I'm going to start split testing with for sale by owners because I'm getting so busy with appointments. I may change the flow of how I may do something before the appointment. So I'll talk through that as well. But there's number one for me of just making good on the title here, of the 18 appointments that I've gotten, it's actually over 20 now, since Monday, 7 of them came from this process, okay? And I literally did exactly what I'm describing. Even though I pay for sale by owner data, I'm participating in the challenge, and I wanted to show, here's how you can do this absolutely for free. I found them on Zillow. I texted them, and you know what? I think one actually, I'm just being very transparent here. I think one canceled because they had already decided who they were going to list with, and they were already fed up with trying to manage all of the showings and so forth. And I did try to flip them, but they had pretty much already signed with the realtor, which is going to happen. It's also, to me, is an encouragement. Like, they're going to list. Might as well be with you. And the sooner you get in front of them in some form or fashion, and it doesn't even have to be actually personally in front of them. It could be on a Loom video, because if they watch your Loom video, essentially you are in front of them. Loom or BombBomb or Dub, it doesn't have to be Loom. All right, were there any follow? Okay, do you have scripts on how to flip them? So Joan, you mean they already, so here's what I said to them. I'm not saying this is best. I literally, this was on a water. Wow, that is Pennsylvania coming out right there. On a water break at my daughter's softball practice last night, which I helped to coach, I checked my phone and they texted. And so I'll tell you what I said. I'm not saying, it's what came to my brain in the moment, in between coaching my daughter and her teammates. Here we go. So here's part of the problem. They couldn't show the property until Saturday morning or something like that. Actually, they gave me some other options, but my calendar was already full. Anyway, we were scheduled for Saturday morning, and he texted, Josh, I'm sorry to report that we're signing with an agent to represent us for our home sale. We'll have to cancel our appointment for Saturday. The FSBO route is too much for us to handle at this time. I said, gotcha. If you haven't signed yet, any chance I can win your business? And I would love, listen, I'll say that again, and I would love in the chat, how could I have done that better, or what has worked for you? Because this is intended to be a mastermind. It's not just me spewing at all of you. I know that oftentimes is what's happening, but I want to, we've got some incredibly productive, and one of them, for example, Tom, who already dropped a comment, which I'll read in a minute here. He said, I appreciate your understanding. We've just signed with and I said, Jennifer and her team are fantastic, because they are. You're in great hands. Thanks. They had already signed. There wasn't anything I could do. And I didn't invest any time other than literally this little text exchange. So it's not like there wasn't a whole lot lost there, if I'm being honest. Tom says, when you tell a FSBO that you have a buyer and set the appointment to come see the home, tell us what that appointment looks like. Do you tell them about the iBuyers and how the dual sale works? And if not, what does the appointment look like and what do you follow up with? Okay, so before I share the next script, what I'm going to do is I'm going to address in some way Richard's text message to me and Tom's question. So in most cases, when I'm reaching out to these, I am referring to one of the iBuyers that I have, that I can get instant offers from on Ilist. Whether it's Quick Buy, Zoomkasa, Zoodealio, or those are the three that most often are the instant offers available in my market. I know if in other markets, there may be other ones for you. So those are what I'm referring to in most cases. Unless I really do have a private client, that property fits their criteria, which does happen. In fact, we just got a pre-approved from the second text script I'm going to share with you when I'm done closing the loop on this. From that text script, we got a pre-approved buyer yesterday. So use the script, had the appointment, got them pre-approved, all in that fell swoop. Now, when I reach out to for sale by owners that there's any chance would fit the criteria for Holly, I'm going to make it even more personal. If it fits there, I'm going to say, this is Josh with eXp Realty. I have a private client. Her name is Holly, who'd like to make an offer on your property, or who might want to make an offer on your property. Would I be able to come take a quick tour sometime today or tomorrow? And by the way, I need to add it here too. I'll add it now. That's why I like using Google Docs. I can update them in real time. I'm making it quick tour because I just in and out. You want to try and build some rapport and have conversation, etc., but you don't want to spend your whole day there, obviously. Okay. So that in most cases, that's what I'm referring to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go try to build rapport, get pictures, etc., and then I'll pull up real quick here, and I'll give you an example. Whoops. No. I'll use Ilist. We had Joe on a couple of weeks ago. All we need is an address to get initial cash offers. So instead of pulling one up, I'm going to pull up one. Let me find one. I don't have a for sale, but this one's a for sale by owner, I think. No, actually, this one was a lead from last week's session, Tired Landlords. He replied to my text message and said he'd be open to entertaining offers. So I popped his address in here, and I have these preliminary offers. Okay. Now, what do I do with those with the for sale by owner? So I will follow up with them with a personal Loom video. It's Loom. I'm sharing my screen with my webcam, and I put their name flashing on my phone with the Make It Big app. So it's very clear to them, this is a video just for James. Okay. I share the preliminary offers. Usually, I would say 1 or 2. Like I don't have 5 of them on there. I deselect and I have usually 2. I usually have the Quick Buy, single close, and one of the dual closes, whether it's Zoomkasa or Quick Buy. And I will also put in what I call a 7-day sales system, right? My process for if we were going to go on live on the market. And I try to keep the video short and sweet, 60 seconds or less. If it's more than 60 seconds, no more than 2 minutes for sure. No more than 2 minutes. I position these as backup offers. Hey, look, the house is beautiful. You're probably going to have no problem selling it. Consider these backup offers if at any point you want to explore other options. Here's the 2 easy buttons. But the reality is, if selling it quickly and for the most money is what's most important for you, I would recommend that we explore this 7-day stress-free sales system that we have. And so I'm just planting a seed there. Now, the tweak that I'm considering for myself, because of how busy I have gotten from all the activity and some of the scripting, is I may use the text script to just get them to respond, send them the Loom video with preliminary offers and the 7-day sale, which is just my listing, before I actually go and preview the property. And then if there's any interest or whatever, then I go meet with them and preview the property personally as the next step. And I'm just thinking of, from an efficiency standpoint for myself, that may be a better process. Okay. And literally this just hit me like, I don't know, at some point, but last night or this morning, I don't even remember at this point, just thinking about looking at my calendar. And as I'm getting more and more appointments lined up, and possibly also because my kids are home for the summer and this, that, and the other thing. Anyway, that's the flow that I'm using. And then it's just a matter of staying in touch with them and looking for, so the other big takeaway besides the Loom video is finding some way to add value to them. James, go ahead. Did you have something?
Yeah. On that point, I wanted to kind of share how I pivoted yesterday with a $1.8 million.
Perfect. Beautiful.
So going in, I knew from the pictures, they had some decent pictures. I'm like, this is a beautiful property on a golf course area. I'm like, these cash offers, he's going to be like, no, that's not going to work. So when I went in, I didn't say anything about them being institutional buyers. He didn't ask. He just assumed it was an out-of-state primary home buyer. So I just didn't say anything. How I pivoted was, instead of going around and taking pictures, which would be a freaking waste of my time, and it was a 6,000 square foot property.
Yeah. You'd have been in there for an hour at least, just doing that. Yeah.
So what I just said, hey, I'm going to take a video. And I said, I can also send you a floor plan. And if you want to take it to the next step, you can turn that into a Matterport style video. So I got out my Kubi Casa app, went through the whole property, outside, inside, sent that off. I told him, hey, I'll have that back within 24 hours. I'll let you know what the buyers say. And then he said, before I even went there, hey, we're going to be talking to some realtors. So I knew going in, they were going to be interviewing. So as I was walking out, I was like, hey, I know you're interviewing realtors. I'd love to throw my hat in the ring, basically. And left it at that. So
you're perfectly illustrating the next point I was going to make. So besides the Loom video with the offers and the options, et cetera, finding ways to add value to them without expecting anything. James found that way as, I can get you floor plans that they could use with their listing. Okay. And James said that they already had great pictures, but if they don't have great pictures, one thing that I often do is I'll plant this seed. Hey, this is, and you have to do this with tact, but if their pictures are not great, finding a tactful way to recommend, here's how I do. Hey, whenever we list whenever we're working with a client and we're listing their property, we pay for professional photos. We use a great local company. It might help you get more exposure and get more people looking at your Zillow listing. I'd be happy to share with you who we use, and you don't have to be a realtor to use them. You could certainly get them for yourself if you'd like, something along those lines. Another thing that I often do in Pennsylvania, there is a seller's property disclosure statement that anytime you're selling a property in Pennsylvania, you have to complete it. There are a couple of exceptions, but generally speaking, it must be completed when you're selling. And some for sale by owners have already done that, but a lot of them I find have not. And so I will send them that as a way of adding value to them. And I actually send it to them electronically using SkySlope. And what that also does is, when I get the listing, right, they're already in SkySlope. So it's like easy for me to send the listing docs, et cetera. Yeah. Thank you, Tom, for confirming Kubi Casa. Now, James, is it free in your MLS? I can't remember if we have that as part of Bright. How are you?
You're right.
How are you getting that?
Yeah, we get it through the MLS, not through EXP. But yeah, we get it free.
Yeah. And I think Bright does too, but I've not used it. I need to check that out. It's Kubi Casa. I have no idea why the name is that. Cubicasa. I don't know.
Free to use for anyone. It's just we get through our MLS, we get a discount on when we order.
Okay. So what is the free version allow?
Free is just the 2D, just the plain 2D. If you just go to their website, anybody can use it. I think through our MLS, when we order anything above the free, we get a discount. At least with our
Yep. All right. And then Michael said, never seen, it's fastcashoffers.ai. That's my enterprise version of Ilist. Ilist has been around for several years. And if you want more details about that, I had the founder on several weeks ago on this mastermind. If you can't find the replay, just let me know, but you should, it's on the Josh Schoenly Coaching YouTube channel, or just shoot me a DM or email me. There's lots of great uses for the platform. One of them is the interactive dashboard that has 4 different estimates of value and also offer options. Okay, I'm going to finally get to the other scripts that I used yesterday. So for me, when I'm on a normal routine and process, Mondays are like FSBO day. And I said, when I'm on a normal, like, listen, there's like the perfect world and then there's reality, right? So another reason why I'm doing the challenge is like, it's forced accountability for me that I have to be on Zoom for this time block, and I'm going to be leading and sharing and doing what I'm prescribing for others as well. So anyway, that's my Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it's a combination of existing database mining, or like I did last week, call it cold lead generation, where we went live on the session and built a list, a targeted list. In that case, last week, it was absentee owners, tired landlords in a specific zip code. And then I will set up to text and email them, and even direct mail them in some cases. Yesterday, I used one of our best performing scripts when it comes to converting a lead into an appointment. In other words, you've not met this person, they're in your database, and for whatever reason, you've not had a phone conversation with them or an in-person showing or appointment of any kind. And what I used yesterday, and I'll share exactly what I did. So in BoldTrail, I went and found, I'm not going to show it because I don't want YouTube to block it. If I show what I did, there's no way for me to block the emails and the text messages. So I'm going to, for those of you that use BoldTrail, I'm going to describe what I did. And if you're not using BoldTrail, just think about whatever platform you're using, how can I mimic this? So I went and filtered like this. I filtered buyer, has cell phone, subscribed to text. So they haven't unsubscribed to text. And I also chose that they have an email. The problem that I have, it's not a problem, but I get a lot of inbound calls on my BoldTrail smart number, and that creates a contact. But a lot of those calls are like appraisers, other agents, spam, scam, nonsense, right? So I get all of that. But if I go and filter by has phone, subscribe to text, and has an email, that's an actual lead for me most of the time. Like most leads that I have, I either only have email, which is a different bucket, or I have phone and email for them, which means like they either came from a motivated seller, a PPL company, or I generated them from a Facebook, Instagram lead format, right? Okay. So I did that. Buyer, has phone, subscribed to text, has email, and looked at a property this year on the site. I just chose that. That's just what I chose, right? Like you can filter whatever you want, but I wanted potentially engaged folks, right? They're opted into my database. I've got their cell phone. They're still subscribed. I've got their email, and they've looked at least one property on the site this calendar year. For me, that was approximately 981, approximately. I'm pretty sure it was 981. And I sent this script. So this was a buyer script. Morning, James, would you be open and available for a quick chat about some of the special financing programs we have available right now? Okay. Morning, James. So and you can see we've got, you can use this quick chat. You can, however you want to slice and dice it. It's ad libs. Is that the right thing? I don't know. Like you can take this piece and add this piece, bolt on this, whatever makes the most sense for you. That's just the one that I used. I know that one has worked really well. There's a seller version of this that works incredibly well also, that for some reason is not on this doc. So I'll get it added to this doc. But in finding this document and editing it slightly, I did find a seller version of this. Now you have to know that they're a seller lead, and you have to have their address info in your CRM, whatever you're using for that, but it works really well. Anyway, this is the one that I used. I think we've had, I don't know, that one, 14, 15, 16 appointments, something like that. And the way I do that is I just turn it into a warm handoff for one of the LOAs on my mortgage team, either Jared or Maria. They have a conversation. They explore different special financing options. So special financing options, USDA, VA, FHA plus down payment assistance, DSCR programs, whatever. Like, depending on what they're looking to do, we have special financing programs that may exist or could be a potential fit for them. So that was number 2. And that is, we're still working through some of them. We've gotten multiple mortgage applications so far from that already in less than 24 hours. And we have one who is already pre-approved. And I don't know, we might be looking at houses as early as tomorrow, maybe even tonight, because she's really excited and motivated. Okay. So that is the second script that I used yesterday. I'm sorry. The second script I used, which I used yesterday. So I sent that out in the morning, and then I was fast thumbs on my phone and on my computer, replying to those that were interested and making those warm handoffs. And for those that are wondering, the way I do the warm handoffs, so this went out through BoldTrail, and on the app, if you pull up a contact on the BoldTrail app, formerly KB Core, same thing, right? It's just called BoldTrail now. I don't know why they did that. I'm sure there's a reason. Who knows? But on the app, if I pull up James, and so I've got his contact up, and I hit the plus button on the bottom right, I can text through the app, which is through my smart number, or I can hit a different thing that will text through my actual cell phone. So I hit text from my cell phone because I can't 3-way connect through the app, but I can with my cell phone. And this is a motivated person. Like, they want to talk. I don't have any problem them having my cell phone. We've also done this with a Google Voice number, so that you could do it that way too if you really are like anti using your cell phone. Whatever. Anyway, that's how I do it. I hit send a text through my cell phone. It'll open that up. I add in Jared or Maria or whoever it is that I'm adding to the 3-way conversation, and I'll say something as simple as this. Hey, James, it's Josh. This is my personal cell. I'm CCing Maria on my mortgage team here. Maria, James would like to have a quick chat to explore special financing options available right now. That's if we haven't set a time. Some of the folks, like I would say almost half of the people that replied yesterday, they said, yes, I'm interested. And many of them right up front said, can they call me after 4? Can they call me after 6? Can they call me around 5? Can they call me on my lunch break at 12? So then obviously I include that in the warm handoff there as well. Questions about that scripting, that process, any of that? And for those of you that are thinking, wow, this all sounds like work, it is. Welcome to real estate.
So I ran into that yesterday. The wife looped me in with the husband, and I'm like, oh, I'm not seeing it in BoldTrail. Like, it's not connecting. It came in separate. So I'm like looking at the app trying to figure out what you just said.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if they'll ever come up with a solution for that. I don't know. In that case, you may have to initiate the separate, hey, when people ask what number is this, I said, this is our business line that you can call or text. I'm going to message you with my personal cell or from my personal cell. That way you have it and we can have a group text combo there.
Yeah.
Because there's no workaround for that. Okay. Fernando, thanks for the heads up. I had copied this, or I thought I had copied this to share, but I didn't. It's in the chat now, this doc with these different templates. Tyrone.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question about the for sale by owner script. You said you have an out-of-state buyer who was interested in your property. Is that false advertising?
1,000% no.
So you say that, and then what's the reaction? Oh, we bring the person over or something, or that's just the way to get your foot in the door?
So I use this platform, and I have out-of-state institutional buyers, quick buys, Zoomkasa. So I would never recommend or do something that I don't have proof of that being the case. If you don't have that or anything like that, you absolutely should not use that scripting. If that's the case, I can tell you that the FSBO script that I had used and recommended for many years was a 3-step script or a 3-step process. Hey, James, this is Josh with eXp Realty. Is your property at street address still for sale? They say yes, no, maybe, whatever, right? If they say yes or maybe or some form of affirmative, awesome, thanks for confirming. Would you be open, if I brought you an acceptable buyer, would you be open to paying a finder's ? And then you'll get, well, some will just say yes, we're offering 2% or 2.5% or 3% or whatever. Some of them will say, what's a finder's fee? And that's just a fancy way of saying paying me a commission if we brought you an acceptable buyer. So if you don't have a way of making good on this, you're not using the Ilist platform and you don't even need the platform. There are some institutional buyers that you can just go sign up for. Express offers with eXp Realty. If you're with us here at eXp, and if you're not, we should chat. If you're with us here, you can use express offers to make good on that. So that I want to reiterate, do not do that. Like, you're wasting your time, their time. You're making us look bad, us as an industry. I can make this offer because I can literally, on almost every property that I go and look at, I can almost instantly get them an offer from an out-of-state private client. Is the private client wording maybe a little bit whatever? I just think it sounds cool, right? I don't know. Just sounds better to me. Let's hear.
Any suggestions on changing that up, like to different terms? Because I got some pushback the last couple of days from FSBOs that have already been approached with this strategy. Private client, I don't know. Just anything that comes to mind would be the question.
I need more. I don't know. I need more context or like what.
So can we change? So I'm just throwing it out there. See if there's any ideas to change up the private client in the scripting.
Okay.
Because I was getting some feedback or just pushback from FSBOs yesterday or the last couple of days that have already been approached with this strategy.
Okay.
A private client.
Sorry.
They wanted proof of
Sorry,
funds,
it's probably
they
my
wanted-
fault that they're getting approached with this on some level. You also have some you have some ballers in your market too. So here's how I am going to test the tweak that I mentioned. Instead of saying who'd like to make an offer, blah blah blah, I'm going to say something to this, and I had it in my brain and now it's left. But I'm going to basically get their permission to send them a preliminary offer. Hey, James, I have an out-of-state client who would like to send you a preliminary offer for your property at street address. Would that be okay with you? So it's the same concept, but you're taking a different approach. And the reason why I'm going to test doing that again is I'm getting very busy on appointments. And so I'm trying to identify for myself how to use my time better. And I also have a mountain of evidence that when I send personal Loom videos where I'm having a different conversation and I'm demonstrating a different level of value than what they're getting and hearing from others, I'm received as different than the rest. So the reason I started with this on the challenge on Monday is I knew it would work. I knew that people would get appointments and it would get them out in the field talking with actual motivated sellers. And also there are levels to everything. So if you're not busy, we need to get you busy. And once you get busy, now we need to figure out how can we be more effective and efficient with our time. And that's where I'm at for myself. So taking it back to Fernando, if you're getting that feedback, meaning you're the third, realtor today that has sent me the exact same script, then you got to flip the script on them a little bit. You got to find a creative option. And that's where I would start first and foremost, Fernando, is I would say, hey, Fernando, this is Josh with eXp Realty. I have an out-of-state client that would like to send you a preliminary offer for your property at street address. Would that be okay with you? Now, you may think, like, why wouldn't it be okay with them? Some of them may just tell you, don't waste your time. Not working with you. Don't even
I
bother.
got some of those. I got
Yeah.
some of the bombs drop.
Yeah, and also, next.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not talking to you, Fernando. I'm talking to everyone, and myself included, because no matter, this, it will mess with your mindset no matter who you are, no matter how much experience, no matter how much success. When you get negativity coming at you, certain days it's easier than others. I try to laugh it off. I try to remember that I'm just bearing the brunt of they're unhappy with their spouse, their life, their job, their whatever. I just happen to be the one that got in the way and they took it out on me, and so be it. It's just the way it is.
And
So
it's gonna be
that's the
there.
first pivot that I would try, Fernando, with any that you haven't reached out to yet. You could also make that pivot if they seem interested. And honestly, even if they don't seem interested, like, who cares? You could pivot, depending on how they replied, you could pivot and say, hey, look, I can send you a preliminary offer to show you that they're for real. I just know that if it's at all of interest to you, they're going to tell me I got to go preview it in person, because they won't finalize their offer until I've seen it in person. I hope that
makes
helps.
sense. Yeah, it does. Actually, I sent out the proof of funds to someone I reached out to, and that guy got upset because I don't know why. He was just mad. He didn't want to deal with any realtors, and we're all the same. F-bomb this, F-bomb that.
And he probably, again, I'm not justifying him being an ASS, but he probably has things going on in his world
Yeah, that's how you take it.
you have nothing to do with. It just so happens that you got the brunt of whatever that was. And we've all been there. We've all been the one doing it to other people at some point, some more frequently than others. That's the reality. I lose my stuff every once in a while. I'm far from perfect, and usually I end up apologizing. Sorry, you didn't deserve that. I've had a bad day, and you got the brunt of my bad day.
Yeah, so I did have an appointment yesterday. Just want to share that.
Great.
I think it's going to go good. So we'll see.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Julie.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you guys are talking about, because the guy that tells you to F off, whatever, you probably didn't want to work with him anyways, but
100%.
But
Yeah.
one thing I learned with the FSBOs is, like, as we get busy, right? Like, now I use My Plus Lease, it sends me the FSBOs, but that's technically the next day. So what I found when I used to work FSBOs a lot is their speed to lead is most important with them, because as soon as they start having the conversations, then they're all the same. So if you're the first person or second person to contact them, then you're going to have a much better success with whatever the script is, right? It doesn't really matter at that point because it's the first time they heard it. So what I used to do is I still have My Plus Leads, or wherever I was getting it back then, it would come into my CRM, but you're not going to be getting that until day 2 of when it actually hit the market. So what I used to do is make my area FSBO search on Zillow. Zillow sends you an email every single time one goes live. So you will get an email within 2 to 3 minutes of that property going active on Zillow as a FSBO. And then you could manually take that action of sending that text immediately, and you'd be the first person that they got that text from, and much easier success rate of getting that appointment.
All right. For those of you that stayed on for 51 minutes, you just got your money's worth today, because that is phenomenal. That is fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I will record a Loom video showing how to do that. I have to figure out how to do it first, but I will record a Loom video showing those that are interested how to do that, because here's what that one that listed, they may have bought the property with the group that there's listed. There could be any number of explanations, or maybe she was the first one that reached out because she's got that set up, or she reached out. Like that one had been listed for sale by owner for 5 or 6 days. I was definitely not the first one to reach out. And so if you are, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set that up for myself, and for the next 10 that come in, I'm going to flip the script a little bit and use what I had shared with Fernando. And Julie, I know you've had your hand up for a while. I promise you're next. I'm going to flip the script, and I'm going to go right for the offer, because they just hit the market, and I'm just going to get their permission. I'm not going to ask if it's for sale. It's obviously for sale. It just hit, right? I'm not going to ask I'm just going to go right for that. I'm going to get their permission for me to present preliminary offers, so I can be the first one to plant a flag. Because if they respond, I can do that within minutes. In other words, I can essentially get myself face-to-face with them in minutes. Whereas I might not be able to get to that part of my area for a couple of days or whatever. Like, I can get FaceTime with them faster by going with that approach as well. I'm convincing myself that might be a better way of doing it, but we'll see. I'm going to test, and I'll report back my findings. Julie, sorry to make you wait so long.
No worries, guys. I don't know how to lower my hand here. Not sure if this helpful or whatever, Josh, I just want to say big props to you, man, because your stuff's always so good. I'm following
you.
you for years. You're the man. So good.
Thank you.
On the for sale by owner stuff, one way, just an idea, maybe you guys already do this or whatever, is how I present myself is like lean into them being the for sale by owner. So I basically say, hey, Jim, I totally get it. I'd want to sell my house too. Don't try to like be for,
Yeah.
I lean in and I say, I have a for sale by owner partnership program. And as part of that partnership program, I can give you a cash offer as a backup, right? As all the other agents are going in there saying they have a buyer or whatever, I have no idea what they're saying, but, or if they're saying Josh's awesome script right here and you want to be different, saying that you have a for sale by ownership, a for sale by owner partnership program, let me give you like a checklist of the steps to help you like succeed on your own. And of any of those steps that you don't like doing, we have support. You can piecemeal it. You don't want to qualify the buyers yourself, I'll do that for you. You don't want your phone number on there because you're going to get 1,000 calls from those that want to know if you're seller finance or do lease options, right? I'll vet those for you. But it's a backdoor way of saying, and as part of that, we offer you a cash offer as a backup because I know you want to try and pursue this first, and just that'd be my way to do it.
No, I think 100% to try and convince them, especially the first day that they're on there, it's foolhardy. I love the backup plan, the alternative option, the whatever. But if you're demonstrating that you're different, if you're presenting different thoughts or ideas and value propositions, you're way ahead of the other ones that are reaching out. And also, there might be, by not being direct, you could lose the 1 in 100 that just was waiting for someone to directly say, you can't do this, you need my help, which does happen, but I would say that's few and farther between, right? If they're going the for sale by owner route, or at least trying that to start, they're of a different mindset. Great share, Julie. I appreciate it. Okay, the last one that I wanted to share. Oh boy, it's already 11:56. So the last text script that I used, so I used the for sale by owner script on Monday. I used the one I just shared yesterday morning. I used the one I'm about to share yesterday afternoon. And this script I sent only to motivated seller leads that I had not converted. And those leads, so one of the bonus sessions of the 5 weeks to 5 listings challenge is a session I did on the motivated seller lead sources that I am paying for and using personally in my business, which ones I'm using and paying for. 2, what my follow-up process is, my automated smart campaign, what the emails, the texts, my manual follow-up, the calls, and the direct mail follow-up. So for those of you who are interested, I can get you more information on that, but that was a bonus session on this. And I'm sharing this last because this one costs, like, I had to pay money to get these people to then do this, right? And I try to keep everyone's wallet and pocketbook in mind when I'm sharing these strategies, right? Like, how can you create wins for as low cost to begin with? So these are, it was about 100 that I've paid for over the last 3 months or so. And it was the ones that I haven't converted. Like, I've already converted. I've already listed and sold one. And I have, I've listed and sold 2. I have another one that's listed that I think she's finally starting to get realistic on where we need to be on price. And then I have ongoing conversations with a bunch of others, literally, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10, where the timing's just not quite right. And we're just going back and forth. Anyway, it was the unconverted ones. It was about 100. And this was the script I sent to them. I had it up here. I don't want to share my screen again because it'll show. I don't have this. I'll add this to a template or something, but it's pretty straightforward. I'll drop it in the chat too. Afternoon. So I sent this in the afternoon. Afternoon, James, would you consider selling street address to a private client of ours before the end of the summer? Afternoon, James, would you consider selling street address to a private client of ours before the end of the summer? Would you consider selling it, the address, before and time, right? Before the end of the summer. It's not just like open-ended. And what happens is I got some people that were like, give me $1 million. And I look it up. It's the RPR says it's 235 or whatever, which you'll get some of that. Who cares? But I also got some that were very realistic and motivated. And in fact, I got 2 of them that called me. So they replied, and is David Glogger on here? Because I wanted to share this. David had a question. Yeah, David. So I started to share this on Monday's challenge, I'm going to bookend it here. So I sent that out, and if they were open to it at all, so they said yes or maybe or I might or possibly, whatever, anything that was a positive maybe, basically, I said, awesome, thanks, or some variation of this. Awesome, thanks. Let me put together a preliminary offer for you, and I'll get that information to you later this afternoon. Okay. And then I give them, then what I do is I give them, I will pull it up in the Ilist dashboard. I'll take the best of the legit offers, which for me in my market, I'm usually looking at the Zoomkasa Cash Plus offer. I'll give them that number. So an hour or two later, because if you do it too fast, it seems like this isn't, I don't know. It just seems like it's not real for most folks. So I want to make it seem like I did a little bit of work, right? Because that also creates a little bit of reciprocity, like they feel if he's put a little work in, then at least I can give him the time of day kind of thing. So I'll give them like a preliminary number. Actually, I'll just read what I'm not going to, let me find one that I had a conversation with that then just picked up the phone and called me. And now we have an appointment on Monday. Bear with me here, Heather. Okay. So I sent, and I'm reading these because, again, if I show this type of stuff, then YouTube rips it down. And then I get frustrated because this is great stuff. Afternoon, Heather, would you consider selling street address to a private client of ours before the end of the summer? She replied, what price? I said, let me put together preliminary numbers and get back to you a little later this afternoon. Again, I replied, let me put together preliminary numbers and get back to you a little later this afternoon. 2 hours later, about 2 hours later, I said, best preliminary offer came back at this number. But I think in looking at the property online, we could likely get you more. Would it be possible for me to pop by for a quick tour to confirm condition and other details? Half an hour later, Heather calls me. Hey, do you think you'd come by next week, not this week? I didn't even say this week. I was like, sure, yeah, I'll come by next week. And then she goes on to tell me, we're in the process of getting the roof replaced, but it keeps raining. They still got to finish replacing the roof, but we'd love to show you the property once the roof is replaced. Had a great conversation, super pleasant. And so we have an appointment for Monday. And that was, so again, David had asked, so I'll close the entire loop. David had asked on our Monday, the first session of the 5 weeks to 5 listings challenge, had asked about pre-foreclosures as a lead source and what the approach would be with them. And so I would use a similar approach to what I just said. Actually, I would use the exact approach. Like that scripting process works perfectly with pre-foreclosures. Hey, James, would you consider selling your property at street address to a private client of ours before the end of the summer? Yes, no, maybe, whatever. Okay, awesome. Thanks for that. Let me put together some preliminary numbers and I'll get back to you later this afternoon, or just make it whatever. If you send it out in the morning, I'll get back to you after lunch, or I'll get back to you if it's late in the day. I'll get back to you tomorrow morning. Then give them an idea of what those preliminary numbers are. And I said that. So part of my reply to Heather was, I think we could probably get you a little bit more because I looked at the property and it's in my backyard. I know the neighborhood. I know we can get more than what the best instant offer was. I just know we can. So I said that confidently. If you don't know that, don't say that. I said, I think we can get you more. You said, you could say, we might be able to get you more or whatever. You can still leave that door open so they're not like, you said 220. I'm not selling for 220. Leave me alone. Don't ever reach out to me again. Just soften the blow so that you can get your foot in the door and then go for the in-person appointment. And if they're like, I don't know who you are, let's start with a phone call or let's hop on Zoom. Okay. And this is completely unrelated to any of these text scripts, but in having more and more of these conversations with people that don't already know and trust me, you have to have your presence optimized. What do I mean by that? If they go and Google you, you want to control the narrative around what that looks like. And I'm even in a lot of cases where I can sense the skepticism or the cynicisms. I think I just made a word up. I'll tell them to Google me because I know what shows up. I'm getting close to 100 Google reviews. I got to get, I'm not that close. I'm 17 away, but I'll get to 100 by the end of the year. But I've got 83 and they're like, the average is 4.8 or 4.9 or something like that, right? So that's third-party validation. If you're going to reach out to any of these cold lead sources for sale by owners, expired, free foreclosure, just geographic targeting, the tired landlords, absentee owners that we did last week, any of that stuff, you want to make sure that if or when they go and Google you, it's not crickets, right? That you look professional and like you can help them, because most of you can. All right. We got to come in for a landing here. I try to keep these at an hour. What other questions? Boy, let's see here. How many Zoom Casa Cash Plus offers have sellers accepted, or is it more useful to you as a conversation or a conversion to a listing tool, just getting the conversation going? The latter, 100%. I've not actually closed any of these cash offer deals. And also, I've used them over and over and over and over again to get the listing. Hey, look, put these in your back pocket, right? We're gonna get better offers, and then if you can't, then I go back to those. I've gotten close to Zoom Casa and Quick Buy, and maybe Zudilio, but I don't know. But definitely Zoom Casa and Quick Buy. They will want to get on a Zoom with the seller because they want to make sure that the seller understands how the offer is structured, because they don't want to waste their time, our time, or the seller's time, get 15 days or 30 days down the road, and they're like, wait a minute, I didn't know that this was this, that, or the other thing. So I've had several Zooms with either Zoom Casa or Quick Buy, but I've not had any that I've actually executed on. And also, I don't care. It gets way more conversations for me, and it helps me convert way more of those conversations or those appointments or those opportunities into listings. Not only that, but I also use them to get better offers once we're on market. I shared this story a couple of weeks ago, but I'll share it again here because I think it's relevant. I had a listing. How did this guy find me? This is what it was. He Googled. I don't know what he Googled. He didn't remember, but he Googled looking for a listing agent, some form or fashion, and he called me. I did ask him because I realized I don't know who this is. I can't find him anywhere. I can't find him in BoldTrail or anywhere. So I did ask him, and he said, yeah, I Googled and you showed up and you looked pretty good. Not looked, but like I had reviews and stuff. Here's a side note to this. He had just bought a house with an agent. That agent must have done such a bad job to either not ask if he had a house that he needed to sell, or just did such a bad job that the guy didn't have any interest in using him. But that's completely unrelated. So when I'm pricing with sellers, part of my 7-day sales process is strategic pricing. Let's be 5, 10, 15% below market value so we can get more exposure, more showings, and more offers than who we're competing against. So we went back and forth a little bit on that. I had to convince him to list at 200. This is a little 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath townhouse. And for those of you that don't know, like my market, the average price in my market's in the 300s, not in the 700 or 800s like some of you are. Okay, so this is a little bit below average, but I'll take those listings every day, all day. And I thought for sure, because he told me, I really think or would like to get 210, maybe 212. And I said, I know this is crazy, but if that's what you want to get, we should price it at 200 or maybe even 190, not at 215, which is what he wants. Let's list it at 215 and maybe somebody will offer us 210. I convince him, and I didn't convince him. It wasn't like I was trying to win the argument, because my fear is always that I'm not right. I might be right, but I don't know for sure. I have evidence that that strategy works. Like I have a stack of evidence of it working, but you never know because every one is different and unique. Anyway, every time we had the conversation, I would do the takeaway. Hey, listen, it's your property. It's your choice. If it were me, this is the pricing strategy I would use. So we put it on for 210. I thought we'd get a bunch of showings. We got 5. I thought we'd have 25. So I'm like panicking. It's like ruining my weekend, right? We get 2 offers. I know his number. The one offers 200. The one offers 197. I know he's not going to take 200 because he wanted 210 or 212. And I told him this is how we get there. So I'm like freaking out. The Zoom Casa offer was for 212 or 213. Now, I had not submitted for final. We had not done any of this, right? So this is a little risky on my part. And I'm not suggesting that you should do this, but this is what I did. I called the 200. So I called both of them. The 197, they were maxed out. There was no way it was going to happen. It was first time buyer. It was already a stretch for her income, whatever. I call the 200 and I say, hey, look, we have this other offer. It's an institutional buyer. It's a much better offer, but it's a 2-tiered payout. And I got into the technical with him. I don't even know if he understood what I was saying. But I said, and so his equity gets paid out in 2 installments. He doesn't really want to do that. He just wants to be done with the property. I think if your clients got to this number, and I said 210, I think we'd have a deal and be done. And thankfully, he was like, you know what? I had already prepped him that we probably are going to have to go to 210 to win this. So it worked out fine, but that's an example of using those. And again, I'm not suggesting that you should do that. It was just what I did in the situation or the scenario. And also it appraised for more than 210. So the buyer still got a deal in my eyes, right? So I didn't, whatever. And my job, my fiduciary responsibility was to my client. I think his name was David, I think. Can't even remember now. Anyway, that was a great question. James, can you tell, is there anything else that we should address here? I think it makes sense to send to my entire expired canceled foreclosure list. Absolutely, Julian. That script, the expired canceled foreclosure, that script, absolutely. Hey, James, just curious, would you consider selling street address to a private client of ours before the end of the summer? Why not? Why not? So here's what, this is like a meta lesson to all of this. When I try stuff like that, I try it in small batches. And then once it works, it's like, how many different ways can I use this? Once I have proof of concept, how many different ways can I do this? And actually, I illustrated that point with the second script, that quick chat script. There's 12 different ways that you can take something that I know works, that language pattern works, and then you just insert whatever offer, right? Would you be open and available for a quick chat about whatever? And the better you can match the whatever to the thing that they were interested in the first place, the more responsive they'll be. For example, if you've been running an ad to generate new construction buyers looking for a home in Mechanicsburg, PA, which I have, at least somewhat recently, I could say, would you be open and available for a quick chat about purchasing a new construction home here in Mechanicsburg? Or I could say, would you be open and available for a quick chat with one of our new construction home specialists here in Mechanicsburg? Like, the better you can match it to what they already indicated through their behavior that they were interested in, the more responsive it'll be. And if you can't, just use the generic version. You'll still get a ton of replies and responses. Okay. I think we've gone on plenty long enough, and I have appointments all afternoon. I have 4 FSBO appointments this afternoon. I got to get to getting. If there were any questions or thoughts, etc., that we didn't address here, or you'd like to just have a conversation and strategize with me directly, go ahead and shoot me a DM, email me. You can schedule a time on my calendar, growwithjosh.com/20, spelled the number 20.
Hey, Josh,
growwithjosh.com/20.
you're going to work on getting that Zillow strategy that.
Yes.
Okay. You
Yep.
put that out on an email or something.
Of course. Yep.
Thanks.
And for the challenge participants, I'm going to add it to the doc I created a singular doc that has all the replays, all the resources, etc. So I'm going to add it in there. And David, I'm going to put in there that scripting process, because I wasn't sharing my screen because I didn't want to show the contact details, but the initial script, what to send when they reply positively, what to send next to try and pivot to the appointment. I'll put that in an organized fashion.
Thanks.
As well. Yep. You got it. All right, everybody. Now, here's my challenge to all of you. Don't let this information simply be entertainment for the last hour, 75 minutes, I suppose, in this case. Use this stuff. Use it, right? Don't just let it sit there. Pick out one of these things and do it this afternoon or do it tomorrow morning. And if you want to jump in on the 5 weeks to 5 listings challenge, just reach out to me, or you can get details at 5listings.com, the number 5, so number 5, listings.com, or just, again, DM me, shoot me a text, email me, whatever. We can get you in, we can get you caught up, and I would love to have you participate in the challenge. Thank you to Julie and Julian and Fernando and David, Richard, James, and I'm probably missing some, for the questions and the commentary. and the interactions as well. And next week, stay tuned next week. I'm going to be in Virginia Beach with my family, and the mastermind will be softball schedule permitting. I don't know what our schedule is yet. But if we don't have a live mastermind, I'll find a way to hook you up in some form or fashion. And worst case scenario, we'll be back the following week. So stay tuned on that. I'll let everybody know, and everybody make the best of the rest of your week. Take care.